thing.
Well, controlling the undercover and the Dodge and the Soji, like, so I guess
Searching out for them.
Yeah. So I'm asking, like, in the Next Gen. Oh shoot, I totally forgot. It's the episode with Sela. Okay, but we didn't know it was Sela till part 2. Well, at the very end of the first one. But, it's like there was this, conspiracy going on, and the Romulans are feeding the Klingons and stuff like that. But then we find Sela is the mastermind behind the whole fiasco there.
Yeah, so I don't think the Commodore is the mastermind.
Okay. You think there's still going to be some more layers above her?
Romulan layers.
Right.
I think the Romulans are using her when she thinks she's mutually gaining from them, but she's not. So I think that's how that's going to go, just by the conversation that the lieutenant and the brother have about, well, we still need her. You know what I mean? Like, that leads me to believe that someone's above all of them, and probably more than just someone. There's a group, the head of the Tal Shiar possibly, but a council or something that's really pulling all the strings here. Because typically people who make it to Commodore aren't on their own going to let their enemies in and take pop shots at people in their own backyard. So it would have to be someone above them that somehow compromised them, whether that be knowing information about them or offering them something, or maybe they're the ones who helped get her to Commodore, or something along those lines that led to this moment. The episode was crazy.
Yeah, it was a lot of information.
It's not even that. All the information was crazy.
Yeah.
By the end of it, I thought I was a delusional old man.
I know.
And I'm only 37.
I know. That's why I'm like, I had to watch it again and again. I'm like, I'm still missing things. Oh my goodness. I was talking to my friend, and he was like, so what did you think about it? And I was like, yeah, I really liked it. And he's like, yeah, it wasn't as intense. And I'm like, what? I felt the intensity in the information. He's like, well, there was no, fight scene or the choreography like the episode
opened up
1,
with a whole bunch of people getting murdered.
Yeah, but it wasn't as spectacular as, like on the rooftop and stuff like that.
Did he watch the short track?
The Children of Mars?
Yeah. Because that literally leads to that scene.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So if you think about them together, it's pretty intense, even in just action-wise. I mean, I get what you're saying. There's no big, awesome fist fight with a great German suplex in it. I understand.
Yeah.
However, I felt like this episode was more intense than the last one.
I know. That's what I was saying. I'm like, no, the intensity is right there for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
The intensity in the last episode was more superficial, or, that's probably not the right word, but visual.
Yes.
Whereas this one, like you said, it's in the info. Not necessarily how much info you got, but what information you got here was extremely intense. There's a big conspiracy in the Federation, and Picard might be the cause of all this from him leaving, and all these things. It's like, this hurts.
Yes, yes.
I can't keep this all down. I definitely don't agree with this being less intense. The best argument you can make was it was as intense.
Yes, I agree.
Can't go lower.
No.
So are they gonna try and kill Picard at some point in the season? What do you think? You don't think Tal Shiar is gonna take a shot at him?
No. Well, they can try, but they are not.
No, I didn't say they're gonna succeed. I said they're gonna try.
Oh. Well, you said, are they gonna kill him? I said no.
No, I said, are they gonna try and kill him?
Oh. Well, of course, yes.
I think we're gonna get actual shots fired.
Yes.
I think we're gonna get really close. Obviously, they can't kill him. It would be an awful show with Picard without Picard.
Yeah.
So,
as we talked about through this, like, importance on, like, how we live our lives and the decisions that we make. And, I'm finding that I am relating to this storyline, even though it's so out there with Starfleet and Romulans and blah, blah, blah. But sort of the core issues, like, how are you treating others?
Is it really that far out there?
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Look at what's going on in the world today, yesterday, last year, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. I try not to talk about today. Just don't want to get into the politics of it all. But let's go back then to, I like using World War II, because we kind of have a clear cut who's the good guy and bad guy there, right? We all kind of know what side everyone sits on in that particular war. We're going back to that kind of thing. Like, I get it. This is an internal issue with Starfleet. However, Picard leaving, does he become the placeholder for everyone in Germany who never said anything and just kind of went with the flow? He didn't go with the flow. I get it. He left, but he didn't do anything to actively stop it getting to where it is today. And is the idea at the end of this, we're going to fix Starfleet? I think maybe, but I don't think this would be the way it would actually happen. I mean, I think Starfleet would still be screwy unless at the end of all this, a lot of people lose their jobs, you know? So we see this constantly throughout history, these kinds of stories. And like you said, dehumanizing people has happened all over the globe for as long as people have existed to some degree. And now it's happening to androids.
Yeah. And you bring up such a good point with this that I hadn't even considered, you know, him leaving, you know, creates this hole and he's walking away almost from his duty and responsibility. And it seems now that when I think about TNG, the series and where Picard was, there was definitely small minorities of like captains who were getting together. And, you know, we saw that in season 1 and like in Conspiracy with the Badmirals and, you know, but it seemed like there was enough of the Picard type idealistic, moral centered compass type of people in Starfleet that still kept Starfleet pure, if you will. Whereas now it seems flipped, where it's like Picard doesn't even see anyone else with his morals, with his ideals, that he could rally the troops and change Starfleet. Like Starfleet has flipped, where there's now more people that he feels he can't influence and so walks away. Where in TNG, it was the opposite.
Exactly. And if you look through history, all right, you will see, typically speaking, you will see, let's start at the beginning. I'll start at the beginning of the cycle, which some people debate is the end of the cycle, but I'll start at what I believe is the beginning of the cycle. Great peace, right? You see great peace. You typically see one side of the political spectrum is in charge, right? And as things move forward, that shifts more towards center, past center, all the way to the other side of the political spectrum. Now, typically, the people on that side of the spectrum don't think they're actually in charge. They think the other people are whatever. But you typically see it shift from a very one direction to the other. And when that happens, you have a giant world war. Now, the world might not be as big because you might only know Rome and Roman Empire, but whatever. Typically, you'll end up having some massive war. And then everyone goes, oh, we can't do that again. We don't want a lot of people to die. So they go back the other way. All the way to the other way, and the whole cycle starts again. And we move little by little until we get to the other side of the spectrum, and then boom, big world war. So on and so forth. Then we had that with World War I. That cycle was really short because World War II happened almost immediately after. And now we've had a really long time since that last World War compared to 1 to 2, but probably not a really long time, historically speaking. It probably takes longer than this. But information is so quick now that you'd assume that that change would actually happen faster than it used to. And that's what I see going on here. I see that TNG was the one side of the political spectrum with some spatterings of the other side of the political spectrum, and then moving across that center line somewhere between. And DS9 helped that because whenever you're attacked, it's really easy to tell people that you need to get to the other side of that spectrum. And that's what we saw. And then we saw after that, what we ended up having was Voyager, which plays no role in this because it doesn't take place inside the right quadrant. And then we saw nothing but prequels. So none of that's going to answer what happened after DS9 to now.
Good point. Yeah. Because, yeah, with war, that changes the pendulum big time.
Yeah. Yeah. It becomes people are naturally going to become more conservative if they're being attacked. Right? So.
And it's easier to blame.
Of course it is. It's their fault. They attacked. And then in that time frame from the end of DS9, where you're assuming everyone's more conservative anyway, or more war-minded, let's put it that way. More war-minded. We have the attack on Mars happen somewhere, and now we're only 14 years from that point. So people from even that point on have become more war-minded than they would have been a day before the attack.
Yep. Very true. Yeah.
So if you go back to September 10th, 2001, you don't see a lot of people wanting to go and send people to war. If you go to the 12th, you do. I'm not commenting on whether that's good or bad, but that's just the reality of it.
And the hatred and the blaming starts.
Real easy, real quick.
Yep.
And if you put that on the right people, the people who carried out the attacks, that's justifiable. The problem is when it starts falling on the people who didn't carry out the attacks. They had nothing to do with this. But you can then make the argument they did nothing to stop the people who did have something to do with this. But then you have to look at the government structure. Are they voted into office? Or they just take power? Is it a king? I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff involved here, but this isn't a history lesson or political podcast. But that's the story we're getting in Picard, which is it's a historically accurate story. And you can pick any time period, and I can show you where on that pendulum you're sitting at the moment, And so this is what I like about Star Trek. So I really love the fact that we're getting it. I felt we got some of that in Discovery, not as much as we're getting this quickly, at least here.
Yeah, agreed.
Agreed. So.
Yeah. Well, good discussion, Pat, as usual. Yes, I'm looking forward to Thursday and episode 3.
I can't wait. I know some people had a few problems with this episode. I didn't, except that I just had to watch it twice and my brain was fried when it was done. It was just a lot of info. But I loved everything else about it. And I can't wait for 3 because I think we're going to get more of the same. But I think it's going to be another big info dump. Yeah.
There's a lot of story and backstory that makes it important that we need to know. So
yes. So okay, for the listeners who don't listen to wrestling, who don't watch wrestling, I do, and there's something usually called a let me up match in a wrestling show. And what that is after you have a big story angle or a big match with two competitors that like really go all out and that the fans are up on their feet the whole time, your adrenaline shoots through the roof if you're in the crowd. Much like our brains are fried from watching this, the fans there would be fried from that. So typically right after that, they put on like a comedy match or a match between two people that are known but aren't really cared about, or a match between two people that may be known but there's no angle involved with them. And the whole purpose of that is just to let people kind of just sit and relax and not even really pay attention to it. And just, go to the bathroom or go get a beer or whatever. So that the next match after that, they're back on their feet screaming, yelling. Because if you ran those two matches back to back, you have a dead crowd for the second match. I don't think we're getting a Let Me Up episode till 4 or 5. So I hope I can keep doing this.
Well, maybe. Yeah, I can't see it with 3, but maybe 4, it's going to get the gang together, and then that will be the letdown that I'm not letdown, but that'll be the breather that we need,
right. The Let Me Up
then
match.
Go and find Soji and blah, blah, blah.
Right, because we know the gang's getting together next episode because I stupidly watched Coming Next again. Only for like 3 seconds, but that's the part I saw. Oh, we didn't even talk about the fact that he showed up to the girl's house and she pulled a gun on him.
Yeah.
And we didn't even mention this fact.
And that it was Vasquez Rocks.
Right, and that she asked him, is it an 86? He like just hangs it over his shoulder.
Yep.
So at least we're done with synthahol at this point, I guess. We have real alcohol in the
Picard,
Federation now.
Chateau Picard.
Right, but we didn't have that in TNG. It was all synthahol where you don't actually get drunk or a hangover.
Yeah.
Well, what's the point of beer? All right, I'll take a Coke.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
But I thought, and now we know where this is going to come from. But like, I don't want anything. I love the scene, is why I bring it up now. And it's really not nearly as important as everything else we talked about because it could have just been done next episode. Mm-hmm. But I don't care anything you have to say. And then he says, Romulan death groups operating on Earth. Okay, I bite.
And then she dumps her water out because she's going to be having some wine.
She needs a cup. And that was a great scene because he hears the water and that's what makes him turn back around.
Yep.
Because that was him knowing that, all right, we're drinking.
Yep. It was good. Very good.
So, yeah. Love the episode. Please join us on our Facebook page, UFP Earth, where we would love to hear what you thought of this episode. So